This is the question I get asked all the time. Is Avalin Cottage haunted? You'll have to watch and find out. If I answer that question right off, if I tell you what happened on day one, you would say to me, why did you ever think, even consider buying this house? And you know, the main thing is that I fell in love. I'm gonna skip that first part because honestly, that is the definitive answer to this question. It's probably the best example of why she's haunted. I had put a question out on a local Facebook group. Hey, does anybody know about the history of this house? Yada yada. I get tons of responses online and in private messages. So I hear a knock at the door. So this woman comes in, okay, and she asked me not to mention her name or any personal details because yeah, it's a small town. It's a really small town. You know how that goes. She was a family member of a prior family, and she was able to give me a lot of details about the history of the house. My understanding is that it was built by a banker. Not sure of the name. I'm still trying to confirm this, but my sources tell me that this banker was embezzled money from the bank, maybe. I don't know. So y'all, if you're related, if you're around here, you know, and that's not true, please let me know. This is just what I was told, okay? He embezzled money, the bank bought that property, and the house was sold and to be moved. We're in its present location. I spoke with the family that moved it here. This land was originally a family farm, and the original owners are the ones that moved the log cabin here on the property. That log cabin was way down in another town. It was actually a palm reader's home. So, you know, there was probably a little, whatever. It probably came with it. This house has had several owners. There were two, let me just put it this way. There were two tragic deaths in my bedroom, the room that is my bedroom. And so because of that family privacy, I don't want to really discuss everything that happened. But I will say this, a former family member told me that there were times that she saw things, black figures of a man. I mean, her dog saw it, she saw it. Another family member was house sitting, and this door behind me flew open, which first of all, it doesn't move on the floor, like you have to, but it doesn't move that easy. But this door flew open, and yeah, she saw things inside and outside from time to time. And so, you know, an actual apparition now, that is, I have no reason not to believe her. And I'm pretty sure that probably did happen. It would not surprise me a bit. So on the day of inspection, I hear a knock at the door, and here comes the neighbor, and he starts telling me all of these things about the house. He gave me some very disturbing news about a former resident. And he says something that I found extremely weird. He said, we were hoping that somebody would buy this house and just tear it down. And I'm like, this house is fabulous. Why would anybody want to tear it down? And he said, the neighbors have seen lights out in that cabin at night, and clearly there is no electricity. And I mean, it kind of gives off that vibe, so I understand.
This is going to be a whole nother video. We're coming to what, I hope that was a firework. We're coming to what they call the witch's house. That's what the neighbors call it. Yeah, here is the log cabin that is sitting here. It's a bonus. I use that word loosely. It's gonna have to be taken down. I had hoped at first that it could be salvaged some way, but nah, it's not gonna happen. This tree, I don't know what this is. If anybody knows what this is, but the that's really weird. All of a sudden my video just stopped.
It's not that it's just haunted. It's like it's enchanted. And I know that sounds crazy. I know. There's no way to explain this except to come here and experience it, because it's a different feel when you walk on the grounds. So because it's magical, it has like weird quirks, and I didn't really understand at first what was happening. It was 2 rooms right off the bat. I had to do the flooring, and so I would measure myself, measure the floor. I would measure, and then I went by the realtor's measures and stuff, and here's the thing, the measurements kept changing. I mean, some days it would, and it wasn't changing by the person measuring, because that would just be like an error. Like if I measured it, I measured it wrong, the contractor measured it something else. No, the measurements would change when it was the same person measuring it from day to day. For example, the bedroom upstairs was listed as, I think it was 13 by 19. It was a little bit wider, I think, than that actual, but the 19 was correct, but the other one was, so when I was buying flooring, I always buy a couple extra boxes, just for whatever. And the contractor came in, he measured it also, got the same measurements as I did. So I buy the flooring. He goes, he puts it in, we calculated it at the store, it's right. We double checked all this stuff. We get in there and there's not enough floor. And that's really weird because it's been measured like 5 times now. The contractor gets out the measuring tape again and he says, you didn't buy enough. And I said, yeah, I did. And he measures it again, and it's 13 by 21. It grew by 2 feet. Okay, so you can say, yeah, that's just an error. Okay, maybe. If that was the only thing, I'd say, okay, that's possible. Then we move on to my bedroom. So I didn't have any problem with the flooring there. What did happen though is I have this long wall of closet. There's like a closet here, a closet there, and there was all shelves in the center. I had cleaned them off. I know that they fit perfectly. And then when the contractor was putting down the floor, I guess to get in there, he had to pull out the shelves, and he had just set them outside on the back porch. He got done, I came back in and I thought, I'm gonna go ahead and put these shelves back in. So Bella and I got the shelves, and they would not fit. They would not fit back in the room. They've been there for years. So we did every which way. It's a huge amount that it wouldn't fit. And we noticed when we saw it, the inspection day to the walkthrough day, it would be like the rooms. Sometimes the living room would seem really big, or the parlor. Sometimes the parlor would seem very big, and then other times it would be like it just kind of shrunk up. Now there's no furniture in the rooms, so it's just weird because you walk in one day and you're like, oh, I've got plenty of space for this, I've got plenty of space for that, And then you walk in again and you're like, oh, this room is way smaller. Again, it could be memory. But when your shelves don't fit and your flooring is all off and it's been measured over and over and over, there's something going on. I think the house just breathes. I think she takes a deep breath and it expands, and that's what it's like. And then she goes, and everything just contracts. I don't know. That's weird. That is not the haunted. That's the magical part of this. After I had closed on the house, people had been upstairs cleaning earlier in the day, and then when they left, I was here by myself. And so I was sorry about the cat. And I kept hearing, like, I was cleaning and painting and sweeping and all this kind of stuff, and I heard a radio on upstairs. I could hear a man and a woman, blah, 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 blah. I couldn't really make out what they were saying, but it was like that, kind of like that stationy static sound. Every once in a while, I'd hear a little bit of music, not much. It wasn't like I ever heard a full song. And I kept thinking, ugh, it was so hot, and I thought, I'm gonna have to go all the way upstairs and find out why they left the radio on. I didn't even know there was a radio, and I thought, dang it. So later in the day, after several hours, this wasn't like just a, you know, I heard it once or twice. I'm talking about, it was fairly continuous for 2 or 3 hours while I was downstairs. I go upstairs and I realize there's no radio. There is not anything electrical up here. So what have I been listening to for these past couple hours? Okay, then on July 29th, I was over here in the dining room, which it's like this window, if you can see, but beside me, the dining room is right on this side. Window, same way. My front door is right behind these badly painted, half-painted French doors. My door is very heavy, and when somebody knocks on it, you can like really hear it. So I'm sweeping the dining room right by the window, and all of a sudden I hear this, you know, knock on the front door, and I thought that's weird because actually most people come to the back door or the side door. And so I'm standing right there by the window, and I look out the window. I don't see anybody. The yard is very large, so it's like not like somebody can just hide somewhere. I thought that's weird. And so I'm right here. I immediately went out the front door just to see. Absolutely nobody anywhere around. I was like, okay, this is gonna be fun. On August 7th, we had been here roughly a week, and my daughter went outside to walk the dog. It was at night. She comes running in the side door, and she's like, Mom, and she was just terrified. And she's not fanciful. She had a friend spending the night, and she said, I was out in the back of the house, and I was looking up into my room to see if she could see her friend actually through the window, seeing how the neighbor, you know, what her room looked like from outside. And she said, Mom, it wasn't there. She said, my room wasn't there. All there was is this big door where my room should be. It was like a door frame. She said it was open. And she said, I couldn't see into my room at all. And she was really freaking out. And she said then after a minute or so, she said it just changed. She said the scene changed and it was normal again. And she said, I saw my friend up in the room, and she said, I saw my room just fine. But she was really freaked out about that. So that was one weekend. Somewhere past that week on the 7th, this was so weird. We have this concrete mushroom. It's about this tall, about this wide. It's heavy, it's concrete. And I had it on the back porch, in the screened in back porch. I looked out the bathroom window, and I see this mushroom sitting out in front of the log cabin, out in the middle of the yard, right where it would be in the way for the lawnmower. And I was thinking, kids, what are you doing? Why would you move the mushroom to the middle of the yard? That's just stupid. And so I asked each one of them individually, like, why, you know, it's better, I think, to just like, to go on the offensive Why did you move the mushroom? Why did you move the mushroom? And they all denied it. On August 29th, it was just me and Stevie the dog. That night, I was kept awake all night by the sounds of banging, clanging. It sounded like, it just sounded like things were falling all over the ceiling. And it was just one thing after another. And the dog is right there in the cage beside me. And there is nobody in the house making all this racket, which was extremely annoying when ghosts do this. On August 26th, Bella and I were sitting in the dining room, and all of a sudden we hear not a knocking at the door, but like this boom across the front of the house. Like it was a knock, but not at the door. It was like on the siding. And I was like, what is that? And we both just stopped eating and were listening. And then there was just like scratching on it sounded like it was right on the front of the house under the window outside of the dining room where we were sitting. So, I'm like, okay. And I jump up, I open the door, I'm looking all along the side of the house thinking that maybe it was a cat, maybe it was something, I don't know. And there's nothing there. On August 28th, this is when everyone was gone again. This is in the middle of the afternoon. I'm sitting there, I'm chillaxing. It's a good day. And I'm thinking about taking a nap. Stevie's laying on the floor, and all of a sudden, he jumps up and he starts growling. He's not barking. He jumps up and he's staring at the stairs again. And I'm looking around, I'm like, okay, it's okay, Stevie, it's okay. We all settled back down. And so I had this stuff that was sitting in a pile in my room. It was not, not a shaky pile. It was been sitting there for weeks. It's sturdy. So as soon as he settles back down and I forget about it, all of a sudden I hear this crash in my room. My whole, there were books, there were just like boxes, different stuff. The whole thing just crashes over onto the floor. There was no reason for that, except that apparently there is a spirit that is I'm not going to say that word, very annoying ghost. The next morning, again, it's Stevie and I had made coffee. I am fanatical about closing the cabinet doors. I don't know why. My kitchen is small and I hate it when the doors are open. So with all the people here, sometimes they just stay open. It drives me nuts. So when, I was by myself and absolutely all of the cabinet doors were shut. I'm back in there. We're sitting, watching YouTube probably. And all of a sudden you hear that, how a cabinet door sounds when you pull it back and it hits and it kind of does that little bump. It's like boom, boom, as it bounces. I hear it, Stevie hears it, he jumps up. Now he's not barking, he's just listening. And I'm listening and I'm like, that is the cabinet door. And my bedroom is just off the kitchen, so it was very easy to distinguish what was going on. So I get up and go in there. Of course, all the cabinet doors are closed, as they had been the whole time. So, it made me think, should I set up a camera? Should I send up a video in here? I don't know. I don't think I want to see this. I really don't. On September 10th, this is just a couple of days ago, Bella's in her room upstairs. I'm downstairs. Now, my bedroom, whether I'm on the couch in my bedroom or whether I'm on the bed, both of them face the outside of the house window. So I can hear and see everything that's going on. I was sitting there. Bella comes running down the steps and she says, what's going on? And I'm like, what do you mean? She said, who's yelling? Who's fighting? What's going on? I said, I don't know what you're talking about. She said, there's somebody out in the yard that's fighting. She said, it's a woman. It could be two women. It could be a woman and a man. I'm not sure, but I know it's a woman and she's out there, just cussing and screaming. And I'm like, Bella, okay, we'll go look. But I'm sitting right here. And I do have the TV on, but I could certainly hear something outside. And so, of course, we get up, go out. There's nothing there. But she said it's weird because as soon as I looked out, and tried to see, she said it stopped. But she came running down the stairs and anyway to see if I had heard it. The next morning, my son decided to come and visit. He had been talking about moving in for weeks now. And finally that day, he's like, I'm serious. I'm going to move in. And we went to dinner that night, just the two of us, came back. So, he's like, he could sleep on the couch, but he's like, no, you know what? I'm just going to go on home. As he was trying to leave, his car keys just literally disappeared. And we turned the house upside down, looking under the couch cushions, looking in rooms. Like, I was looking everywhere for these keys, as was he. Looked out in his car, outside in the yard, everywhere. Couldn't find the keys. I said, well, it looks like Avalyn just wants you to spend the night. So he had no choice but to stay. And those keys, we kept looking for them for the next 2 days, and we couldn't find them anywhere, no matter what we did, no matter what we uncovered. The day that he actually got his stuff and we were cleaning out that room and moving furniture around, we are standing in the living room discussing, about moving the furniture, where this is going, where's that going, and we hear keys, and it drops and hits the top of my keyboard, the cover on it, and you hear like clang, clang, and they're on the floor. Now, we haven't moved any furniture, we haven't done anything, we're just literally standing there talking, and his keys hit the floor out of thin air. I was like, that's really weird, son. I think, the day that you're finally moving in, and yeah. I guess she's like, okay, you're really moving in, so you can have your keys back. So we come to the part that is the most disturbing. The first day that I knew Avalyn was haunted was pretty much the first day I walked on the grounds. I felt like I went back in time. If I had seen, fairies in the bushes and little elves jumping through the trees, I would have just thought, oh, look, there's a fairy. I mean, it was that magical. It was like you stepped into a portal, and it was the most enchanted thing I had ever seen. And so, sight unseen, inside the house, as soon as I walked in the yard, I knew this was my house, and I had to have it. So what we did is we walked all around the house. I started taking pictures. I was snapping pictures of like the upstairs window, which I think is just absolutely gorgeous. Just from prior experience, I know that if you're gonna take a picture and catch anything weird in a window, you have to take it in succession and do a series. Bella kept wanting to see the inside of the house that day, and I'm like, baby, we can't go in. And she's like, try to find a way in, and I couldn't find a way in. I was in the front of the house, and there's this great swing in the back of the house. We were separated, me in the front, her in the back. So we're excited. We get back home, and she kind of acted a little bit funny when I was getting back in the car. Something seemed a little off, but we were both so just entranced with this property. Once the enchantment wore off, I was thinking, that house is really odd. That was a whole odd, it was just weird. The whole experience was weird, and it made me think, I'm gonna look at some of those pictures I took of that upstairs window. I said, okay, look, let me just tell you, these are pictures I took today. I want you to look at these pictures and see what you think. And because I'm not going to deal with buying a house and then you saying let's move because it's haunted and I'm scared to death. I said I'm just, you know, I want you to know you love this house. You look at these pictures and you tell me what you see. If you see anything, you know now. And so she's like, oh, I'll look at the pictures. She said, but I know it's haunted. I was like, what? How do you know it's haunted? Because she said, I saw a ghost today. She proceeds to tell me that when she was out in the back by herself on the swing, she said, I heard the back door, like the porch door. I heard the back door open. I thought it was you. I thought you found like some way to get in the house and you were coming out the back and, you know, were gonna tell me, hey, come on in. And she said, but when the person walked out, she said it wasn't you. It was a woman. And she said she had her hair pulled back. It was kind of gray. She had a yellow shirt on and blue jeans. And she said she came out and she said she looked at me, like she didn't speak to me, but she looked at me as if to say, who are you? And, you know, like, what are you doing here? And she said, I was looking at her. I thought like maybe she was going to yell at me. And then she said she just faded away. And so to this day, even with talking to the other people about this house, I have no idea who this woman is. Bottom line, we knew from day one. So we're about 6 weeks into living here. And is Avalin Cottage haunted? Probably. Is she magical, mystical, wonderful? Oh, absolutely. So we'll see what happens. Maybe there'll be a part 2. I don't know. If things continue to happen, I'll let you know. So if you are interested in the shenanigans, then like and subscribe, and we'll see what comes down the pike. Thanks for watching. You do a lot of praying. Yeah, you do a lot of praying.